Everyone knows the story of Transformers Devestation, one of the greatest games that we have. Hey, Hasbro, how about y'all give us a sequel of this, considering y'all left it on a cliffhanger with Nova Prime, right? Oh, wait, we can't even get a Transformers game for the life of us, can we? But that's besides the point. We know that this story was about five of the best Autobots in all honesty: Optimus, Grimlock, Sideswipe, Bumblebee, and Wheeljack. All of them taking on the Decepticon army: Devastator, Menasor, Megatron, Starscream, Shockwave, Soundwave, and the Insecticon Hive. But we also know at the end of it, we saw Nova Prime, one of the darkest entities, and he was corrupted by something. But what if he had awoken? What if we also knew what he was corrupted by? The dead universe, devoid himself. See, when Nova Prime awakened, he would offer Megatron, after, seeking out the Decepticons and stuff, he would offer him a deal: absolute power in exchange for his services and the eradication of the Autobots, so that he, or his master, could consume the universe. But he never told Megatron that, right? And, well, Megatron would agree and would get empowered by Nova Prime. This is where Nova Prime then basically played the guy behind the chair, if you will, having Megatron do all his dirty work, wage an entire war against the Autobots. You see, while they were at war before, this was something different, something more menacing, something the Autobots were never prepared for. And Megatronus controlled it up until he didn't need Megatron anymore. See, when Megatron finally died at the hands of Optimus Prime, he took over the Decepticons, killing those he saw were too loyal, even those he didn't think would be loyal. He killed Soundwave, Shockwave, and Starscream, making sure that his point was clear. And so the Decepticon army obeyed him, and he used his own power to create himself an army of drones that I won't reveal just yet. And so, under the command of Nova Prime, the Decepticons were more ruthless, more malicious. Even Decepticons that wouldn't follow this path, like Thundercracker, had very little choice under, I guess you could say, his prowess, or under Nova Prime's leadership. And so, this is where everyone kinda had very little choice but to, I guess you could say, fall in, if you will. And the Autobots waged a war unlike any other, to the point where humanity itself was unfortunately the greatest casualty of all, with it being wiped out in the process. The Dinobots were ambushed by Devastator on their island, but he wasn't alone. He also had Menasor, and in that process, the Dinobots not only were overwhelmed, but one by one, they were each killed, up until it became just Grimlock and Slug. Knowing that his commander was the best bet at getting their revenge, Slug not only knocked his friend out, but made sure he got away, usher him to safety on one of the few aquatic dinosaurs, a plesiosaur, to get him out of there. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm having it this way, this is because the Dinobots actually had a great relationship with the dinosaurs on that planet, or on that island, excuse me. So Slug doing this, it just, gives Grimlock a little bit of closure, or at least, gives, I guess you could say, comes full circle with that relationship. Sideswipe had to watch his brother Sunstreaker get eaten by the Insecticon Hive, ultimately, I guess you could say, killing him. And unfortunately, Sideswipe felt helpless. Ratchet, Ironhide, Jazz, RC, Hot Rod, and many more would fall at the hands of Nova Prime and his Decepticon army. But the Autobots managed to get one good win: Devastator. Eventually, Grimlock did get his get back, but with the help of Optimus and Sideswipe, he managed to finally deal the finishing blow to the Decepticon that partially slaughtered his team. But it seemingly wasn't enough. But this is where something else was being worked on, that being a space bridge, something to get them out of their universe. They knew they lost. They knew that Cybertron couldn't be saved. It's just the five of them now. Or so they think. You see, Optimus, Wheeljack, and Bumblebee had a plan, and it was happening slowly behind the scenes. You see, Optimus was absorbing a lot of the energy of the Matrix, the leadership inside of him, so that he would make himself a bomb, a sacrificial lamb in hopes of actually waiting it out. And so when the day came, Optimus told them this, but knowing they had very little time, they activated the space bridge and, well, headed into their ship, with Optimus staying behind, knowing good and well that he was the only person that could do this. The Decepticons were knocking at their door. The Decepticon army, the remaining main Decepticons like Thundercracker, Skywarp, Blitzwing, and Menasor, or the Stunticons as well, all were there, led by Nova Prime. And Optimus was ready. He knew that this was his final stand and couldn't be happier. And this is where Bumblebee on the ship simply states, "Farewell, my friend, my oldest friend, and thank you for everything." But this is where, back at the arc itself, this is where Optimus prepares to fight Nova Prime, who wants the honor, or lack thereof, the privilege to kill him. And this is where, they begin to battle. Optimus is overwhelmed by the power of the dead universe. There's no, if, and, or buts about it. I guess you could say excuse me, they're, he's gonna get overwhelmed, whether we like it or not, and ultimately Nova Prime thinks he has the upper hand, but he says, "I sense something in you. What is it? What are you planning? What are you doing?" And this is where Optimus simply states, "I thought about many things I do, and this is one of them." And so not only does Optimus Prime bear hug Nova Prime, it cuts deep within him with his axe, but Nova Prime finally feels it, the energies of the Matrix, and he screams no as an explosion goes off, visible from space, and cracks the very planet that they're on. Grimlock sees it and he states, "Optimus gone." And Sideswipe tries to comfort him. He's like, yeah, he's gone. But look, we'll honor him. We'll, hold his legacy the best that we can, And this is where Grimlock simply thinks, "Me no want to fight anymore." To which this comes as a shock to anyone, as, they would think that Grimlock, more than anybody, would, want to fight, want to get his, revenge, but he looks tired and broken. And Sideswipe simply states, "Come on, man, you can't do this." However, this is where a new issue arrives. Bumblebee reveals that he has the Matrix of leadership, and when it finally feels that Optimus is gone, it converts him into Goldbug Prime. And this gets Sideswipe infuriated. He's like, you of all people, you get the Matrix?" To which Goldbug's like, "Look, I didn't ask for it, okay? Optimus thought I'd be the best candidate, and lo and behold, the Matrix actually chose me. Look, I didn't want this." To which Sideswipe's like, no. Of course you get it, of all people. The one person Optimus Prime sheltered the most, the scout, the one who sneaks around the battlefield instead of actually being right there on it. To which he's like, "Sideswipe, come on, I didn't ask for this." To which he's like, no, you did it, but you winded up getting it. And to which Grimlock is just simply, sitting there depressed and almost just complacent, thinking about his friends, his Dinobots, and the dinosaurs he swore to protect. and he feels like he failed. Meanwhile, Goldbug and Sideswipe are still going back and forth as Wheeljack pilots the ship, and this is where he says, guys, incoming, and, well, Goldbug just simply states, look, just go through it or blow it up. Right now, we just need to get out of here, okay? To which this is where we go into Darkness Rising, Part 5. You see, Megatron threw his Dark Energon through the space bridge, just like in the original. And seeing the Autobots, go ahead and try to destroy his space bridge, or on the space bridge, he does go down to meet and confront Optimus. And so the first half of the exchange goes just like the original. Both of them just going sword for sword, band for band. But this is where Megatron sees the Dark Energon explode, or at least feels it explode. And Optimus and him both look like, what? What's going on? What happened? And Optimus simply thinks like, perhaps somebody on the other side is able to destroy it. But this is where Optimus gets his answer when the Autobot ship comes through. And he simply states, this is Optimus Prime, identify yourselves. However, this is where Team Devestation, or at least Goldbug, Sideswipe, and Grimlock simply descend. However, they don't introduce themselves, not, just yet. However, this is where Goldbug says, okay, we're here to help them, and we're here to make sure, oh, look, there's a Megatron over there. To which Sideswipe is like, yeah, something good to vent our frustrations on. To which Goldbug says, no, we're going to help them the best that they can. And this is where he tells Sideswipe to convince Grimlock somehow. To which Sideswipe says, hey, big guy, we could really use your help. To which Grimlock says, no, I don't want to fight. To which Sideswipe says, look, I get it, alright? I don't want to be here either. But think about it. You could be the strongest thing ever. What if this reality could give us something that could make us get revenge? You want revenge, right? To which Grimlock thinks, yeah, he does. Me want to become stronger, the strongest. Me want to kill Nova Prime. And this is where Grimlock gets up and pushes Sideswipe, Goldbug, and Optimus aside, and Megatron says, oh really? What's this? Well, you are certainly larger than the others, and what do you, pray tell, think you could do? What do you deem yourself, Autobots? And Grimlock simply says something that sends a chill down the other's spine. Your doom. And this is where Grimlock lunges at Megatron. Megatron lunges at Grimlock, and Grimlock ignites his flame sword and smacks it right on top of Megatron's. Megatron is immediately overpowered in the class, with him actually like, what the heck? How is he? He's strong. However, Grimlock doesn't stop there and keeps advancing on Megatron. And Megatron himself tries to jump back, utilizing his fusion cannon, but Grimlock slices through each attack and then shoulder charges right at Megatron and ultimately pins him to the ground. Megatron tries to fight him off, but Grimlock turns into his dinosaur form and bites down on Megatron's arm. This is where he bites further into it. And keep in mind, this Grimlock right now is angry, menacing, absolutely rage-filled. And right now, he wants nothing more than blood. He wants his get back. He wants nothing more than to prove he's the strongest, even if it means he has to be utterly ruthless in order to get it. And so what does he do, you might ask? Oh, he bites into Megatron's arm. However, when Megatron tries to get him off and use his arm, Grimlock uses his foot to pin it. And this is where Goldbug sees what Grimlock's going to do. And he tells him, wait, Grimlock, don't do that. To which Sideswipe says, go for it. Show him, you big guy. Show him you're the strongest there is. To which Grimlock ignites, it's something that ignites in Grimlock in there. And he feels that primal rage, that primal urge to kill, like his original self. And this is where he clamps thoroughly through the fusion cannon itself and makes it all the way to Megatron's arm. And he's yelling out in pain, saying, "Get him off me. Get him off me, please." He's begging. This pain is unbearable, more unbearable than anything he's went through before. However, Grimlock doesn't stop there. He yanks and begins to pull, and you hear it. The metal, the contortion of Megatron's metallic flesh as Grimlock begins to pull hard. And I mean, he pulls hard. And this is where Megatron's arm begins to slowly separate. You see it, and you see the metal, then the fibers inside of it, then the wires, and then finally, boom! All you hear is a as Megatron's arm is fully ripped off and tossed aside. However, before Grimlock can deal the finishing blow with his jaws, Soundwave opens a space bridge beneath Megatron, teleporting him back into the warship. Megatron is on the ground, fearful. For the first time in his life, he was scared. He was afraid. And Optimus himself even takes a step back from the group, wondering what the heck is going on. However, this is where pretty much Goldbug tries to inform him and calm, Optimus down, saying, "Look, we're Autobots from another dimension, and right now we do need to seal this space bridge and destroy it." To which Optimus, understanding the plight, and he simply states, then they can follow them. Meanwhile, back on the warship, Soundwave and Starscream are getting Megatron up to a medical table, and Starscream does go on a little bit of a tangent, asking Lord Megatron what happened. I've never seen you so afraid, Master." To which Megatron backhands him and tells him to leave him. Both of them now. "I need to contemplate." To which Megatron really sits there in the medical bay and simply states, "Decepticon endeavors are yours until further notice, Starscream. Soundwave, keep him in line." To which Soundwave simply nods and ushers Starscream away. To which Starscream says, "Well, now we have to really think about what to do." So, back at the Autobot base, where we would actually see the Autobot shuttle kind of, I guess you could say, parked outside, which they kind of use it to escape. This is where Team Prime is a little bit wary now. Grimlock is the most dangerous thing pretty much right there, and Optimus kind of looks at him a little bit, I guess you say sideways, if you will, because again, he's never seen Grimlock or, seen Autobots that are this ruthless and this aggressive. And Optimus simply asks them about their story. To which, this is where Goldbug Prime simply introduces themselves as, well, Goldbug, this is Sideswipe, Grimlock, and Wheeljack. To which Bulkhead's like, "Wait, Wheeljack? We already got our own Wheeljack." To which Wheeljack's like, "Well, then you can just call me Q. Don't really intrude, but I am my own being after all." To which Bulkhead does apologize for it. And this is where Wheeljack does kind of get a little antsy when he sees Ratchet, but he kind of keeps himself under control for now. And this is where, after pretty much explaining everything, Optimus does think to himself. And, well, he simply asks them, will they help them take down the Decepticon cause? And Goldbug says, "Yes, obviously. Of course, we'll help you take down your Decepticon cause. We'll help you. We'll crush them. We'll crumble them. And in return, I hope you could." To which Sasha's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're just going to throw your trust at them immediately?" To which, this is where Sideswipe and you Goldbug into another argument. While this is where Sideswipe says, "Nah, you know what, B? I can't trust you. I really can't. I don't think any of us can. Look, if y'all want to stay, go ahead by any means. But we're out of here." And so this is where Grimlock and Sideswipe simply mess with the space bridge and head off into the woods. And they walk around for a minute to where Grimlock's like, "Where we go?" To which Sideswipe's like, "I don't know. I just need to think. I need to clear my head, alright? Trish Grimlock's like, okay. However, this is where they walking through the woods and a ship crash lands right there, well, in their area. And they go to investigate, and Sideswipe simply states, well, we can definitely use this. But that's not where we leave off here. We actually head to the Decepticon warship, where a portal opens and Nova Prime, injured still, comes out with Blitzwing, Thundercracker, Skywarp, and the Senticons, as well as his private army. And this is where Megatron walks up with a new arm in tow. Let's say it's the one that looks pretty similar to his Leech Maxima arm, but it's, fitted just for him. And this is where Megatron simply states, and you are? To which Nova Prime introduces himself. I am Nova Prime, one of the most powerful entities from my universe, but I've come hunting down a certain group of Autobots, and I would like to make a deal. And that's where we're going to leave it off here, folks. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends, and well, I'll see you guys for part 2. Peace.